Okay, an overtime victory for the Eagles tonight against the New York Giants, 23-17. The Eagles come from behind. Yes, they've been making us sweat kind of every single game lately, it feels like, and good to see the losing streak snapped here with a good win in the rain tonight. Welcome to the Postgame Show. Fran Duffy, Ike Reese, Amy Campbell. Who wants to go first? Initial thoughts? Good vibes. Yeah, I do.
Yes.
I wish people could see behind the scenes, like, of the last couple of minutes when we're watching the end of the game in position, and you know, a lot of times we don't know what we're about to be talking about.
Like broke a camera, he flipped the desk. Like we had to bring the camera in. It was a nightmare.
Very exciting to get a win here, especially against an NFC East opponent.
Relieved.
Yes.
Definitely relieved. Ending the three-game losing streak obviously is big here. Getting a win tonight against this team. Wish it wasn't as difficult, but just like everything in the 2019 season has been, this game was a direct reflection of that. But unlike most of the season, the Eagles found a way to pull this game out. Really a gutsy performance by this team. I don't know how many guys left the game.
Yeah.
I don't even know who was out there at the end of the game for Carson to play with on offense. Just a good win to keep this season alive. We're in a tie for first place. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it's been a long time since I had anything to smile about. And you know what? I am going to enjoy this. It's been 3 weeks. I'm going to enjoy this.
Over a month with the bye week.
Literally,
Oh, yeah, right. So it's been almost a month since we enjoyed that Chicago Bears win. So good win tonight.
Look, I think this is going to be a fun one to watch the film on because we really did see the offense kind of get it together as the game progressed. They didn't score a touchdown until the third quarter, just that one field goal, the only points for this Eagles offense. But with guys like Boston Scott stepping up tonight, Greg Ward stepping up tonight, Josh Perkins having a couple of big moments with a lot of the main offensive guys out or injured. I mean, guys were dropping like flies out there. A lot of injuries across the board that I'm sure we're going to be getting updated on as the week progresses. What are you going to be looking to see when you're watching the film of just all these contributors starting to find some rhythm there?
Well, you saw all these guys start to get into space, right? So we saw bubble screens to Boston Scott, bubble screens to Greg Ward, allowing those guys to get into the flat and find open space, get to the sideline, get downfield. We still didn't see a lot of big chunk plays for the most part. We saw, some catches by Zach Ertz, some catches by Dallas Goedert down the field. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside coming up with that great over-the-shoulder catch on the fade down the right sideline to help tie the game. But ultimately, I'm excited to see how all these things came together. The offense just finding a gritty way to get it done because, it was fun on the back half of this game to see how they were able to string things together. It was not a fun first 2.5 quarters. So to see them go, what did they put up, 28 yards in 5 straight drives, 5 straight 3-and-outs. It was an ugly, ugly start. But they were able to bounce back, and I think the resiliency goes to the players on the team, the leaders on the team, and also the coaches as well.
Yeah, and let's talk about Carson Wentz. After watching this first half, they go to the locker room, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, this is the test for the leadership. Who's going to come out here and say, this is not good enough, we are better than this, we are going to be better than this, I'm going to will us there. Carson Wentz tonight finishing with 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, completing 66% of his passes to an array of different targets. I thought that he really carried the team tonight in a big way.
Yeah, I don't even think I'm going out on a limb and saying this. This was his best game as a pro.
Wow.
I mean, when you think about the circumstances that was there, obviously what was at stake, the fact that he doesn't have premier weapons to get the ball to. They had to win this game to go down the way they were, 17-0 or 17-3, whatever the score was. And to be able to fight back in the middle of that third quarter, fourth quarter, and in the overtime, 2 big drives late in this game to tie the game up, and then the one in overtime. I mean, obviously, he's had better numbers in other games throughout the course of his career, and he's looked dominant in some other games, particularly in 2017. But I'm just looking at the circumstances and the way that he was able to rally this team. Amy, you just mentioned going in that locker room at halftime, being booed off the field, deservingly so, by the way, in the first half with no production from the offense, to rally those guys, what he had left available to him. Miles Sanders in and out of the lineup. You lose your right tackle. You lose your best wide receiver. He's out there throwing to Josh Perkins and making some key throws there. I mean, I thought Wentz's I don't even know what his stat line was as far as completion percentage.
66%.
But man, he dropped some nice dimes in there to these guys tonight. In this weather condition, with gloves on his hands, I really do think it was his best performance as a pro.
Well, and there were a couple of drops there too that I thought
question.
were pretty good throws as well.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to blame the receiver on that one. I thought he was,
It would have been a nice
there.
catch if he made that.
Would have been a nice catch, yeah. Fran, what did you see from Carson?
I thought we saw resiliency. You know, it goes back to what I said earlier. The whole team showed it, but I think ultimately when you look at the quarterback in this game, what he was able to do with some of those weapons being out on the sideline. You lose Alshon Jeffrey, you lose Miles Sanders for a good chunk of this game, you lose Lane Johnson. So some of the key pieces in this offense that weren't available. You already came in. Obviously, no Jordan Howard, no Nelson Aguilar. You knew you were going to be shorthanded. They come out, and the way that he was able to fight, get through that adversity. You get booed coming off the field at halftime. They had the drops. You had sacks. They didn't turn the ball over, but they still had a lot of adversity. They were able to bounce back. He made some great throws down the stretch.
Yeah, I had the one fumble early in the game that I thought his knee was down, but they obviously couldn't determine it and didn't overturn it.
It was fourth and short anyway, so it was going,
short. And then give credit to these young wide receivers. These guys were thrust into the limelight on national TV. The leader goes down of the group in Alshon Jeffrey. So now these guys are going to be relied upon even more, and they needed to step up and make big plays. Arcega-Whiteside with a great over-the-shoulder catch on the sideline on that key drive to help tie this game up. Greg Ward with some big catches, some nice runs after the catch where he was able to get that yards after the catch yardage. I just thought these young guys stepped up. I mentioned Josh Perkins already. He's another guy that had to step up tonight and was called upon to make some big catches and came through. And how about our guy Boston Scott? I mean, Boston Scott was some nice, tough running there to help tie the score up 17. Or was it to get the Eagles' first touchdown on the board? Get the first touchdown on the board.
The Eagles on the board. All right, and with that, we have Dave Spadaro standing by from Lincoln Financial. Dave, a gritty, grinded-out win in overtime for the Eagles here. What did you see from the players on the sideline in terms of the emotion to be able to overcome so many things that went wrong to be able to get a win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, a tremendous amount of emotion, both negative and positive. I mean, the Eagles, as you said, got booed off the field. It was loud, it was lusty, it was deserved, and the players were none too pleased with that reaction from the fans, although they know they deserved it. Now, to get this thing going in the second half, the defense, which gave up big plays in that first half, stepped up, put some pressure on Eli Manning, and really limited what the Giants did down the field. And the offense just kept coming. I love the contribution from Boston Scott, who just changed the tempo of the offense. You could feel it down here at field level, the way he was just a little bit quicker than Miles Sanders, to and through the hole. They got him involved in the screen game. He really ran with rocket fuel in his cleats tonight. My cause, my cleats. And he certainly played extremely well. And the Eagles, I mean, this is not probably in the category per se of miracle victory against the Giants, but I don't see any reason why it can't be classified in that tier just below, because to come back from 17-3 in a dead stadium, and Lincoln Financial Field was dead, the sideline was dead, players were walking off the field, Jalen Mills among them. You guys didn't, I don't know if you mentioned him earlier before I got on, but, and then to turn it around like the way the Eagles did, all this is what we wanted to see from Carson Wentz. A second half comeback, a fourth quarter comeback, an overtime drive down the field to get the ball in the end zone. This is the kind of game that even though you might not have Lane Johnson, you might not have Alshon Jeffrey the rest of the way, who knows, you really use this game as a spark plug, because I'm telling you, the feeling here that this game was dead in the building.
Yeah, and I was over there, Dave, and you could almost hear a pin drop over in that stadium in the first half. Really a tale of two halves. You talked about Carson and the performance he had. He doesn't have that performance, Dave, without these young receivers stepping up. Just talk a little bit about these young guys really being thrust in a position where they needed to come up big in order for them to pull this game out.
Yeah, and you know, Ike, this is such a game of how you feel about yourself, the level of confidence that you have. We've been waiting for JJ to have that signature game, that breakout game, and he battled it. He wasn't getting playing time, had to drop at the end of the Detroit game. You know, these are the kinds of games that lift young players. Boston Scott now knows without a doubt he can play at a very high level in the NFL. Joshua Perkins moving around the formation, getting open, creating some space. Still the staples exist in this offense with Zach Ertz and with Dallas Goedert, but the Eagles and Greg Ward, who had the chance to put the ball in the end zone, didn't do it, came right back with a catch, a tough grab in traffic in the red zone, broke a tackle, got the ball down to the 2-yard line, set the Eagles up for the tying touchdown. These are the kinds of games, these are the kinds of plays that young players use to really take their games to the next level, because the Eagles, a short week here going into Washington, they're going to need all of them. The Eagles stretched their roster about as far as you can go in this game tonight, using Vaitai at right tackle. I mean, they were down to Rasul Douglas. How about this one? Sidney Jones comes in for his only play of the game, I think, on defense, and gets a key stop, pass defense, on 3rd down late in the 4th quarter. I mean, that's a kid who's been sent to the very bottom of the depth chart, and yet when he was needed, he stepped up and got a stop.
You know, Dave, we've talked about the quarterback. We've talked about some of these young guys that have stepped up. One guy we haven't talked about yet on the show is Zach Ertz. You know, he put a lot on himself last week, 8 days ago, with how that game ended down in Miami. He had a couple of critical drops. He comes back. He leads the team in receiving, 9 catches, 91 yards, scores the final 2 touchdowns. He has the 2 catches in the first half that helped propel the team into field goal range for their only points of the first half. Talk about what you saw from Zach Ertz and the energy from him coming off the field as well.
Yeah, and Fran, against a defense that does not give up much to tight ends. I mean, throughout the season, they've been torched on the outside with their young cornerbacks, but they've been doing a pretty good job for the most part against tight ends. The Eagles found a way to scheme to get Zach open, create a little bit of space on the inside. He caught the ball very well, caught the ball in traffic, and really a good comeback game for Zach Ertz, who did feel the weight of his performance in Miami. Very unhappy with himself throughout the week, and in fact wouldn't really go out in public very much. I think he had one appearance that he went out later in the week, but throughout Wednesday did not want to go out because he was so down on himself. He took it so hard, the loss in Miami, and his feelings that he was responsible for the defeat. Well, he certainly stepped up his game tonight and played a Pro Bowl level game, was terrific, knowing the Giants obviously know that the ball's going to go to Zach and to Dallas Goedert, and yet those two really contributed a lot.
All right, Dave, I'm expecting some good vibes in that locker room tonight.
Yes.
We'll be catching up with you a little bit later with that coverage as well, and we thank you so much for your insight.
All right, thanks so much, guys.
Okay, I love hearing what it's like at these games, especially a game like today. Really good points raised there by Dave. I want to talk about some of the guys who caught passes tonight from Carson Wentz. Ertz, the leading receiver there with 9 catches. Boston Scott, the second leading receiver with 6, followed by Dallas Goedert. Josh Perkins with 5 catches on 5 targets. That's a pretty good percentage there. Greg Ward had 4 catches. Arcega-Whiteside 2. Miles Sanders, I guess, also had 4, so I guess it's out of order on here. And then Alshon targeted twice without a catch there. So that's kind of not necessarily usually the order you're used to seeing. What can we say about this Eagles offense where Carson was able to spread the ball around to so many guys who had not been big contributors? I mean, I think Dave nailed it when you say it's a confidence builder for a lot of young guys.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where when you look at this offense, they have to mix and match. It's almost like you have to make it up as you go. And that's obviously not what the coaches have to do. But with what you're doing and cycling guys in and out, you have to just keep going. And I don't know. We've talked about this. We talked about it last year with the injuries that this team faced on both sides, and what it takes to have guys that weren't playing football or just came up off the practice squad. Boston Scott, Josh Perkins, Greg Ward, all these guys. There were 3 in the top 5 receivers in this game. Were on the practice squad to start the season, or not on the roster to start the season. What it takes for those guys to come in and become playmakers when you need it most.
Yeah, that's why, I was that much more impressed with what Carson was able to do tonight, because really he's in an offense where, other than Zach Ertz, he doesn't have a reliable security blanket. So, and with not much practice with these guys, he basically is feeling his way through this thing with these receivers, because there's not a lot of experience of playing with each other out there. So for a quarterback, and receiver who typically has great chemistry, has a lot of repetition together, so you can get a feel for where that guy likes the ball placed, and both guys have that feel as a quarterback and a wide receiver. There's no way Carson could be absolutely comfortable throwing the ball out there. He just has to trust that those guys are going to be where they're supposed to be at and just let it go. You saw a couple times he had to hold on to it, but I give him a lot of credit and those guys because for the most part, they were where they were supposed to be. And then I like the fact that there were some plays where Carson had to extend plays with his legs, and he allowed these guys to get open, right? So when he's able to extend plays, these guys can break free from coverage.
Well, especially that one we saw with Zach Ertz there where
Yeah.
Carson extended the play and Ertz was able to run, get open, make that catch, and that was a big catch. So, yes, we've talked a lot about Greg Ward, Boston Scott tonight, two younger Eagles who had some really good games. They both spoke with Dave Spadaro after the game, so let's check out those interviews.
All right, welcome down to the field. Eagles insider Dave Spadaro with wide receiver Greg Ward, one of the heroes of this remarkable Eagles victory tonight against the New York Giants. Greg, how did this thing turn around?
We all show hard, man. We went in the locker room, we talked, we got everything together, man. We came out here and we played together.
Mindset in the huddle in that last quarter.
We got to get it. That's it. We got to get it. We all believed in each other and we made plays, man. So we just went out there and did it.
The way everything worked, Greg, did you feel like whatever you called, you were going to find a way to get something done here?
For sure. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter what it was, man. We were going to make it work.
All right, thank you, Greg Ward. Now we've got Boston Scott, Eagles running back. Big contribution from you tonight, Boston. Great game. How'd it feel out there?
Man, I'm just happy to be able to help out my team, man. We've been going through a lot of adversity all year, but we pushed through, man. We overcome. We stayed close in that locker room. And, man, I got a lot of respect for the guys in that room, man. The leadership, starting with Coach Doug P. Man, we appreciate y'all as fans, too, for sticking with us, man. We're going to get this thing rolling.
Boston Scott, Eagles running back, great contribution. More from the field coming up in just a few moments.
Okay, Fran, I know you usually break down the film, but I'm going to break down that film really fast because a couple of big things stood out to me. One, love the chemistry between those guys. I love when a guy jumps in on another guy's interview with some positivity. Two, A-plus journalism, sideline reporting move there from Dave Spadaro to hang on to that guy and get two interviews for the price of one. Dave, I got to give you
no holding penalty thrown there on Dave.
No flag on the play. That is some sideline reporting elite talent right there. Let's talk a little bit about Greg Ward, a guy who has been around this program for a long time, been on the practice squad, who has been, just kind of in this Eagles program for a long time, and is now really getting some chances and is slowly starting to carve out a place for himself in this offense. Talk about his development a little bit.
Really, I mean, ever since he's been here, guys, you always kind of heard that in the building was, man, every day at practice, oh, Greg Ward made a play. Oh, he made another play. Oh, he had another great day against these guys in practice, but it was just practice. And you knew quarterback making the transition to wide receiver, it was going to take time. It's not just as simple as can he catch the ball and can he make a play? He's got to learn routes. He's got to know assignments. He's got to know what he's got to do in the run game, where he's going to line up. So when he's now gotten his opportunity, he's not this outstanding game breaker that's going to take the top off the defense and change the game that way. But he's been a pretty reliable possession threat in the middle of the field where they've needed that over the course of this season. At this point now where they are, a guy like Greg Ward helps them. Now, there are still ways that they've got to go, ways that they've got to improve. He did have some other miscues tonight, but I think when you look at a young guy that you want to try and build around, he's a guy that you could see, okay, he could be in the future plans. Yeah,
continues to show that development, like you said. Why don't we get to your takeaways? Like, what's the first one?
Well, the first thing is the team came out flat tonight. For a game that was as important as this one was, to play the first half the way that they did, that was a little disheartening. But they were able to fight back. But that's the first thing that I took away from the game is that they didn't hit the field ready to go. They didn't hit the field with the energy that you needed, taking on a 2-10 New York Giants team, really allowing New York to believe in themselves and have life and really start to believe they can win this game. First half was just one that you want to burn the tape and not look at. They didn't hit the field ready to go tonight, and I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah. Definitely. What did you see in that department?
I'll tell you, they did come out flat. And the one thing that we talk, in order for them to show resiliency and that, the ability to come back, you had to start flat in order to be able to show that resiliency.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they did not look good at the start of this game, certainly, and we talked about it. I mean, they got booed off the field at the end of the second quarter, rightfully so. They did not play well on either side of the football, offensively, defensively, a lot of miscues, and look, they were able to bounce back.
Yeah, and I think the way we saw Carson go down the field in overtime, to me, said so much. I mean, that was, like Dave said, that was what we've been looking to see from him this season, to be able to go down the field and to kind of take control of the situation and march the team down the field and show that leadership. This game, like you said, that first half was really unpleasant to watch. You start to see some signs of life from the Eagles, able to tie it up, and then to just be able to just, seal that win in overtime, I think is something huge and a great way for this team to build some confidence.
Yeah, and as a team, when you're a struggling team, right, and it seems like you can't do anything right and sustain it, right? You get a game like this, you're saying to yourself, here we go again. Here we go again. No positive reinforcements out there happening on the field. And you can start to doubt yourself and you can start to have self-pity. But whatever they did in that locker room at halftime, whoever said whatever they needed to say in there in the locker room, you do have to give them a lot of credit for coming out in the second half and fighting. And that was on both sides of the ball. And it's typically, one side is playing well and the other side isn't playing well. And that brings me to my second takeaway is the first half in the defense. We had done a great job for about a month of keeping big plays down, right? Once we got all our guys back out there on defense, I thought they did a great job of that 4-week stretch going against Buffalo, Chicago, New England, and Seattle of keeping big plays to a minimum. And then they got back into some bad habits last week against Miami. And then what I think happened on one of those plays, you got maybe a busted coverage on the second Slayton touchdown. And on the first touchdown, Darby there, when you realize you're going with an all-out blitz and you're the last defender there, you just got to come up and make that tackle, right? You just got to come up and make that tackle. You're short of the first down, and the Giants are probably kicking a field goal there because it would have been like 4th and 7. So I just thought the defense giving up the big plays in the first half was unlike them, but give them a lot of credit because they basically shut the Giants out. The Giants didn't score again the rest of the game after the first half.
No question. I think, and that's one of the things I wanted to bring up was, we've talked about the offense this whole show. We haven't talked about the defense, and it was not a good start. You mentioned that those big plays they gave up. Eli Manning finished 15 of 30, 2 touchdowns, 2 sacks. Saquon Barkley finished 66 yards, 3.9 yards a carry. They kept those guys shut down for the most part. I mean, that was a good performance overall, looking at the stats at the end for the defense.
Well, and Eli had 179 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half. Finished with 2 touchdowns and 203 yards. So 24 yards in the second half, if my math is correct. I believe we are about to hear from Coach Doug Pederson. Let's hear what he has to say.
The emotion in your locker room after a win like this comes to mind?
Yeah, it's all right. It's just a great feeling. The guys are so excited. The guys are thrilled. They know how hard they worked, how hard they've battled, how hard they practiced this week, and to really, trust the process, stay the course. It didn't look pretty, obviously, early in this game, and to hang together is something we talked about this week is hanging together, and they did that, and so the guys are very, very excited.
Doug, I know it's a team win, but what do you think this meant for Carson's long-term development to lead that fourth quarter comeback?
I think it's great. I think it could be the start of hopefully many fourth quarter comeback type wins for him, and again, to me this was a big team win today. Our defense played outstanding. A lot of our young players really stepped up and had impacts in this football game. Carson obviously was a big part of that, and he had an impact. But great team effort today, and really credit the defense for keeping us in there.
What did you say to your team at halftime when you're down 17-3? Zane, anything special? You just told them to
not really. Everybody kind of understood what was going on, and it was just a matter of pride. We just had to just kind of figure it out, and defense again did a great job in the second half, really kind of shutting everything down, for them and giving the offense opportunities. And again, we struggled offensively to start the third quarter. but then kind of got into a little bit of a hurry-up tempo and got into a rhythm and scored those 3 scores.
Down to a simple emotion like that sometimes, it's just a matter of pride.
It is. It just comes down to that. Quite honestly, it's just a want to, a will, desire, you know, and that's what I saw at halftime from the guys. You know, just.
Were they embarrassed where they were?
Yeah, I mean they were talking. I could hear them talking, and at halftime, I could hear them. You know, defense and offense. But they were encouraging each other. That was the thing about it. It was not a. You guys think I'm crazy, but it's not a shouting match in there. You know, we're not throwing stuff and getting all up in arms at each other. We're coming together. We're figuring it out. We're putting a solution together. You know, we talked about, hey, defense, big possession to start. You know, 3 and out, and they did. And offensively, it took us a few series, but we finally got it going, and it's just a matter of that.
What was it for Carson? Only 2 wideouts. You ended the game with 1. What went into the decision to only carry 3 tonight?
Well, we were trying to get Nelly, obviously, to the game, and it was just unfortunate. We just didn't kind of ran out of time. So, you know, we had Perk, who's been working, and Perk really is a versatile. You know, he's listed as a tight end, but he can play a slot receiver. So we kind of rotated him in there with the other 2 tight ends tonight.
Doug, what was it? Did you do anything with Carson the second half to get him going? I mean, obviously, first half and second half were different.
Yeah,
what was it?
I mean, the weather was probably a little nastier in the first half. I mean, the rain stopped in the second, but you know, I think for us too, and for him, just kind of getting into some tempo a little bit offensively, just kind of no huddle, just lining up and playing, and you know, just kind of, you know, using that to our advantage. I think really settled him into this game and had a tremendous second half.
A couple of guys said that the guys this week were a little ornery, whatever you want to, you know, guys got pissed off at times. Did you see that, and you thinking maybe that's a good thing? Maybe that's what we need right now?
You know, I think, you know, listen, we hadn't won a game since our bye up until tonight. And so guys are disappointed. Guys are mad. Guys are frustrated. I'm frustrated, you know. And so, you know, it sometimes it kind of flushes out some things, you know, during the week. And we had a really good week of practice. And the guys, I could really see the guys kind of turn a corner from the standpoint of coming together as a football team. And, you know, especially this time of the year, we're into that last month of the season, and we know what's in front of us. We know what's at stake, and the guys do. And it was a good week.
You had some guys who had, you know, rough years. Vaitai comes in and plays well. Perkins, who hasn't been, you know, included very much, plays very well. Sidney Jones, you had to use him in the fourth quarter, and he's been buried. You know, he got you off the field right after Rasul got hurt. Can you talk about the preparedness of those guys to do what they did today, compared maybe with other instances?
Yeah, I mean, you could just go down the list. I mean, you had JJ, you had Greg Ward, you had Perk, you had Boston Scott on offense, Sidney on defense. I mean, guys just really, you know, Big V stepped in. I mean, guys, some of our younger players really had an impact and did have an impact because, and I credit. Obviously, I give a lot of credit to the coaching staff, too, you know, for preparing these guys and get them prepared during the week. 'Cause it's not easy for a young player, especially at our receiver positions, for Greg to play an X and then a Z and JJ to go back and forth. And that's what we did in this game plan, and to move these guys around from different spots. And that's a credit to to Carson Walsh and Mike Rowe and the offensive staff for, you know, having those guys prepared and ready to go in this game. And then it was up to them, obviously, once they took the field, to execute and perform, and they did that well.
Is it remarkable then that without many reps with those guys in particular, Carson seemed to be his most efficient in weeks with guys that he, you know, doesn't necessarily have a great rapport with, just because of the way practices go?
Yeah, you know, and we've practiced these guys, you know, the last couple of weeks. I mean, even when before Greg got promoted to the active, even he on practice squad, you know, he was working with the starting offense just because we were having to, you know, rest some guys during practice during the week. So Carson's been throwing and working with him, and obviously, you know, getting a little more comfortable with JJ, and Perk was probably the newest guy, you know, to really add to that mix. And I just think it's a credit to all of them, honestly, for the amount of work that they put in. Again, just a overall team win tonight, and proud of the guys.
What made you use Boston Scott the way you did, and did you know he had that in him?
I did know that he had it in him, obviously. We saw it in preseason, with some of the explosive runs that he had. And, you just never know sometimes, I mean, Miles did some great things for us, too. What a great run at the end there to, really the play was dead. And they had the right defense, and Miles creased it and made a couple, tough runs there. And, of course, Boston got in there, a little more change of pace, and you saw the quickness and the speed, and did a great job, So we just gotta find ways to get them all on the field.
And I give a lot of credit to Carson, though. You say it's a team win. He asked him to drop back 53 times. He doesn't have a starting wide receivers, a starting running back, a starting right tackle, and he pulls it out in overtime. So you got to give the quarterback some credit.
A lot of credit for trusting his guys, for trusting me, from play call, play design, and and really trusting our process, trusting what we're doing, and that's a big credit to him. And it's not easy when you got that many new faces out there playing in a must-win game, against a division opponent. I mean, that's tough. It's not easy to do, and Carson does get a lot of credit, but at the same time, we made some plays on defense that kept us in there, and we're able to pull it out.
But save the season tonight, Doug?
It's a start. We still got 3 games. It's a start. We know it's a 4-game season, and tonight was 1. Obviously, we got a great road test next weekend, and we got to get prepared for another opportunity.
Doug Alshon and Lane, any indication how bad?
I'll find out tomorrow. And let you know. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Coach says it's now a 4-game season, so I guess this team is 1-0, which is definitely something to be excited about. Credits the defense for keeping them in it. Yep. I think that was a really good point. And, Fran, like you said, we spent a lot of the first half of this show talking about the offense. We've just scratched the surface of the defense. That was one of your takeaways as well. I thought we had a nice moment from Sidney Jones tonight, and just the resolve that he showed to make a play in the moment that he had. What can you take from that?
Well, I mean, listen, it's one play, but it was certainly a big play in the game, and it was the crucial 3rd down, and to not have seen any game action in, 4 or 5 weeks, and to not even be active in some of those games. They're down so many people, they had to activate him tonight, and thank God they did, because they lost a couple more DBs out there with Jalen Mills and then Rasul Douglas getting injured. And give Sidney credit for being ready when being called upon. He's cold coming off that bench, and you knew the Giants were going to go right at him because he's new in the game. So give him credit. It was a slant. It's not an easy play. He was able to get a jam in there, get his hand in there, break that pass up. Happy for him.
One guy who I thought stood out was Nate Gary.
Yeah.
Second leading tackler. Led the team with 2 pass breakups. Was really active. It made some plays sideline to sideline. The last time the Eagles took the field here at Lincoln Financial Field, he was in the spotlight with that missed tackle that led to that long play. But I think when you look at Nate Gary, he slowly has gotten better over the course of this year. Has seen more and more playing time due to injuries at the linebacker spot. Not saying that he's a world beater right now, but I think ultimately when you look at the way that he has progressed over the course of his career, he's turned into one nice player.
Well, and I think for the coaching staff to say, hey, when Kamu's out or when Bradham's out, obviously both guys have missed time, for them to say, hey, we have a reliable guy who can go in there and get the job done is definitely something for them to feel some confidence in. All right, time for one of my favorite parts of the show. Merrill Cam, let's hear from Mike and Merrill, a compilation of their finest moments from this great Eagles win.
Lines them up. Sanders behind them. Slot to the far side. Jeffrey to the near side. Motion. Now Wentz. Back under center. On 1st down, he drops. He looks. He pumps. Now he's rolling to his left. Now he's rolling to his right. Motioning downfield. He is looking for Ertz, who's got it at the 40. He's down to the 38. Wentz did a very good job of extending that play and hitting Zach Ertz for a 25-yard gain. It's 1st and goal from the 3. Wentz in the gun. Wentz takes the football, gives it to Scott. He slashes. He's in. Touchdown, Eagles. Boston Scott Wentz takes the snap. He screens it out. Scott makes a man miss. He's got a first down. He's got more. He's at the 40. He's at the 45. Boston Scott.
Yeah, I think we've got a Darren Sproles #2 on our hands.
On first down, Manning looks, backs up. He is dumped and sacked back at the 25-yard line by Vinny Curry. Wentz takes the snap. He's back. He looks. He is looping it for Whiteside, who makes the catch. He makes the catch even though he was held down at the 41-yard line.
Boy, that is a great catch.
Wentz under center. He's back. He's looking. He fires. He's got him. It's complete. Diving forward is Goddard inside the 15, down at the 13. What a throw by Wentz. Wentz under center. Wentz back. He fakes. He looks. He fires. Touchdown! Touchdown, Zach Ertz! Wentz in the gun. Scott to his left. Wentz takes the snap. He's looking. He fires. Complete. Touchdown! Eagles win! Zach Ertz!
That's why right there. That's why Doug called that timeout. Doug wanted to reset, see what they're doing, spread them out, get the football to reliable Zach Ertz. Game over.
Eagles come from a 2-touchdown deficit, and for the time being, they have saved the season.
That is impossible to watch that without a big smile on your face. Gotta love that stuff from Mike Merrill especially. All right, let's get to your third takeaway.
Well, the third one is my best one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
You
gutsy
saved the best
win.
for last.
Yeah, gut check win, big time win. There was no way the Eagles could lose this game, quite frankly. I mean, listen.
There was a way.
ways.
Technically, there was a way they could have lost this game. But yes, it was a gutsy win, man. To be down 17-3, playing the way that they played in the first half. I think we all sort of had that sick feeling in our stomach that this thing felt like it was going to end in a loss, and we would have to try to explain how the Eagles season isn't over with yet. But they found a way to get the win, and it was probably their best win. When you think about the adversity, when you think about the guys they lost in this game, you think about the way they played in the first half, and pretty much I leave the games at halftime to come over here, and half the stadium was leaving with me at halftime. That's how disappointed that crowd was. And for them to go in that locker room at halftime, dig deep, do some soul searching, and come out and play the way they did in the second half, they basically played a night and day game. I mean, they looked like a completely different team in that second half. Big time win.
You hope, too, that this can be a launching pad for the final 3 games because the stakes only get higher now. Yeah, with each and every game, the importance of each matchup only increases because now going down to play Washington next week, that could be to take the sole lead of the division because the Dallas Cowboys play the LA Rams, who are now hot. They've found their magic again. So they go on the road. They lose that game. Week 16 is for the division to clinch it. And week 17, you're resting starters. So each week now becomes more and more and more important. So you're hoping that this win, as sloppy as it was, as ugly as it was in the first half, you're hoping now that can kind of propel you because momentum is a real thing. Momentum is a real thing in football. That can carry
Eli Manning.
that can carry you into a week after week after week.
Yeah, and when these teams don't have anything to play for, they sometimes can be the most dangerous teams.
Yep.
And we should have learned that last week versus Miami. In the NFL, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, you're typically going to get a good effort from that team. Now, they may not give it to you for 60 minutes, but if you keep them in the game, they're going to try to win the game.
Yep.
And when you go down to Washington next week, that's a team that hasn't experienced a lot of wins, just like the Giants tonight. They lost 8 straight games. You think they're tired of losing every week. So they felt like, oh, the Eagles don't want this game. We're in this game.
Yep.
And they get confidence. The Redskins will be the same way. A young team. They got an interim coach down there. And if you go down there and you're playing sloppy and they find a way to get up early, you're going to find yourself in another dogfight.
They just punched Green Bay in the mouth this week.
Yes,
gave
exactly.
them everything they could handle, and they got a coaching staff fired the week before in Carolina.
Yep.
Totally unexpected there. Yes, of course. So I think we talked a lot about the resolve of this team in this game, and one of the players who I think shows the most resolve is Brandon Graham on this defense. This is a guy who is always focusing on what to do next and on the positive. He is one-on-one with Dave Spadaro after this win. Take a look.
Graham, Eagles defensive end, BG, down 17-3. It was not pretty here. What turned it around?
We just stayed, just going hard. Sometimes they was making plays, and, we just wasn't making the plays. But second half, we came out, and we wanted to make sure that we tightened up. And I'm happy that we kept fighting.
Did you feel the momentum change in the second half?
Oh, yeah. We knew on defense we had to make some key stops. We just was letting stuff, little things was catching up to us. But the second half, we did good.
Team was looking for a spark. This game could be the spark for these final 3 games of the regular season.
And we'll see. One game at a time. We ain't going to look too far ahead, but I'm going to enjoy this one. Get ready for Washington.
All right, Brandon Graham, thank you so much. Eagles tied for first place in the NFC East.
Love it. Love Brandon Graham. Let's continue talking about this Eagles defense, and let's highlight Vinny Curry because he had 2 sacks tonight, the only player to get a sack, and he got 2 of them, which is pretty good. What did you see? How did he do it?
On both plays, they had a tight end and a tackle over him. Nate Solder, who they paid a ton of money to in free agency last year, has not worked out for them. He was credited with both sacks, and like I said, a tight end was there on that side as well. So good for Vinny. Comes in. I don't know what his expectations were in terms of playing time and things like that coming back here from Tampa Bay, but got his first chance at a starting spot tonight with Derek Barnett out. And he came through with the most of it. 2 sacks, and they were critical. They were big plays in the game.
Yeah, you could tell the difference with Eli, right? He had a clean pocket in that first half, had plenty of time to throw the ball, got the ball out of his hands quick, and you read the numbers that he had in the first half. Well, in the second half, they got to him a little bit more. Hit him on a couple plays, and then Eli started short-arming a few throws, and that's always been the book on Eli Manning, right? If you hit him a couple times, you can rattle him back there, and that's what they did in the second half. They just didn't get enough pressure on him in that first half. He had time to sit back there. Good skill position guys, get the ball to them. In the second half, I thought the defensive line picked it up a little bit. Even though Vinny was the only one with sacks, there were a couple other times you had guys in that backfield. Did a nice job also on Saquon Barkley tonight. Saquon was fighting tooth and nail to get every yard that he could get, and this Eagles defense just wouldn't let him break free for the big run tonight, and it was huge.
2 big stats. Eagles were double in time of possession. They had the ball for almost 43 minutes of this game. The Giants were 2 of 12 on 3rd down. That's big. That's huge.
You're not going to win the game like that. When we talk about the defense in the second half, what they did to really limit Eli, did they make changes there? Did they scheme it up differently, or was it just what they were doing started working in the second half?
It's tough for me to say based on without being able to see it. So that's what I honestly watching the defense. I will go to the film on that and see what comes up. But to me, it just looked like the plays that they gave up. I mean, they were bad plays by Ronald Darby. Honestly, I mean, he missed a tackle, and the second one, like you mentioned it. The blown coverage, it was either on him or Rodney McLeod. It was to that side. It's tough to be able to tell just looking at the play live, and then even just off that replay. I want to go back and be able to watch that. But to that side, certainly some kind of a busted coverage.
Yeah, I look at those plays and I say, Jim Schwartz called a good game tonight. The 2 touchdowns they had wasn't due to the defense that was called. If Ron Darby makes that tackle on the first touchdown, it's 4th down. I mean, that was a throw that was short of the first down. And I think they were blitzing on that play. So Darby is the last line of defense. That's his guy. You just got to break down, come up, and make that tackle. Forget about getting a big hit or anything like that. Make the tackle. It's 4th down. And on the other play, I think they were anticipating a route at the sticks, right? So I think Rodney McLeod was coming to play underneath that route, and I guess Darby was going to be over top of that. So maybe they thought Slayton was going to run like an out cut at the sticks to pick up the first down. Well, the way you beat that sort of over and underneath and over coverage is you just run a go route. You don't give them a chance to cut you off, and that's pretty much what they did, because they know the Eagles run that defense where it's either Rodney or Malcolm who will be at the line of scrimmage and then run out up under that number 1 wide receiver. It's almost like an inverted cover 2, right? And the Giants must have saw that and said, okay, they give us that look, You just run the go route, Eli and the receiver on the same page there, and Slayton just ran straight down the field. You could tell the Eagles weren't expecting that route because, I mean, Darby let him eat up the cushion.
Yep.
I mean, he never even stayed on top of him. So I think that was just a busted coverage right there. Everything else they had to work for. I thought Jim Schwartz called a good game tonight. Those are just execution sort of mishaps as opposed to scheme mishaps.
I think we're maybe a minute away from hearing from Carson Wentz. Fran, are there specific things that Ike just touched on with those defensive moments, specific things that you're going to be looking to see as you kind of start breaking things down this week?
Yeah, I think it kind of mirrors what we saw last week, where it wasn't necessarily a schematic issue that led to the breakdowns. It was more an individual kind of mistake or an individual error that led to those plays. But I'm interested to go back and kind of watch that on film tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I'm interested to hear more about that. All right, as we continue our Carson watch, let me look at the Giants, or the Eagles' defense when it came to just kind of a breakdown here of the offense. We can look at the total net yards. They allowed 255 yards from the Giants, and in the first half, the Giants had 226. So really were able to turn things on in the second half. We talked about how much they limited Eli Manning as well, and continuing to just limit Saquon Barkley, which I thought another thing that was interesting, rambling a little bit here because we're going to see Carson any minute now. But with Saquon Barkley, to be able to limit him to 66 yards when last year he ran all over the field on this team, even though the Eagles got the win and pretty decisively against the Giants last year, both times, Saquon was still very, very productive. He's having a less productive year this year. Is this just a matter of teams getting some film on him, or did the Eagles do something different with him? Do you guys have any thoughts about that?
I would imagine it is a little bit of film studying on Saquon. Banged up, not really fully 100%, so he's been working through that high ankle sprain. And then when your offense can be bogged down at times, it makes it easy for a defense to really key in on him. Teams are really going into games when he's available to play, focusing on not letting Saquon Barkley beat you. And I could tell with some of the defenses we were running, they were certainly playing Saquon Barkley to break that ball back to the backside, and they kept Jalen Mills or corner typically slow playing that on the backside, not allowing him to get outside the defense.
When you played in your career, when you played some of the best running backs, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, when you saw those guys the second time, was it a little bit different because like that wow factor of like, man, like that's Barry Sanders like trying to run by me or run through me? Was it a little bit different the second and third time you faced those guys?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the first time you face them, you want to ask them for an autograph.
I love story time with Ike, but unfortunately it's got to be story time with Carson Wentz here in a minute here. The Eagles quarterback getting the win, again completing 66% of his passes, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Trying to knock it off this time. Carson, how much of a swing was this for this team emotionally, standings-wise, in all aspects, being down 17-3 and getting a win like this?
Yeah, it's huge for us. Obviously we realized there was a sloppy game for a while, but the way guys just hung tough and stayed together, more importantly. And obviously we dealt with some injuries and some other guys stepping up, making plays, and that was huge. You got Perk, you got G Ward, you got JJ, Big V's out there. You got guys all over the field. Boston Scott, guys stepping up, making plays, and I think that's huge for each of those individuals' confidence and ours as an offense and as a team. And each of those guys that they're going to keep making plays, and that's big for us.
I know you roll with whoever's out there, but did you realize you were basically down to one receiver at the end of the game?
Yeah. That was just the way it happened, and obviously the injury part of it is unfortunate, and I'm not sure what's going on with some of those guys. I'm going to talk to them here tonight, but that's the unfortunate part. But again, like I said earlier, guys stepped up, made plays, and that was huge for us.
How much did you have guys then playing out of where they typically would play, and how much did that require out of you in terms of figuring out where you were going to guys?
So, it happened quite a bit. You go into the game with 3 receivers, and now you got, Greg Ward's usually in the slot. He's out there playing X receiver. And you got guys moving around, and for me, I got no choice but to trust these guys. And some of these routes I'd never even rep before in those situations, but they stepped up and made plays. They did a great job, and like I said, that's huge for our confidence going forward.
Earlier you guys were down 17, maybe the Atlanta game comes to mind. When you would get injuries during the game, you had a tough time adjusting. Today you had injuries and you had guys that were even less experienced you're plugging in. What's been the difference?
That's a good question. I think tonight, I can't really fully answer that. What's the difference? But guys stepped up. That was the biggest thing. Guys stepped up, and we realized our backs were against the wall. And the first half was obviously very ugly, and we just stayed together, and guys made plays, and it was huge for us.
When you guys were down 17-3, what did you say anything to your offensive unit as you came back in the second half?
Just keep believing. Keep believing, and it's time to make a decision how this is going to define us. Tonight. Obviously, we knew it was not our first half. That was a rough one. That was an ugly one. But we just said, hey, keep believing, keep staying together. Defense was going to take care of their piece, which they did, and we were able to do enough offensively to get this win.
What about the game-winning play? Tell me what you saw. It looked like nobody followed Ertz off the line.
Yeah, I still got to watch the tape. I'm not really sure what happened. I'd probably cover Ertz in the red zone. I think they had some miscommunications there when we brought him in motion. So. Yeah, that was a sweet way to win.
Carson, your accuracy in the first half, I'm sure you agree, was not perfect. There were low throws, things off the mark. But those last 2 touchdown drives, I think you only missed 2 passes. Did you see something mechanically or fix something mechanically to get that going?
No, I think it just being confident as the game went on. Just playing confident, and at the same time, guys are getting open. Guys are getting open, making plays, and coach was dialing up and giving us the best chance to succeed. And coach called a great second half, and like I said, we did enough to get this win.
When you get set up past the Zach, that was a fastball that you threw in. That became tying one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as hard as I see you throw.
Appreciate it. I mean, again, some of those plays late in the game, like I said, we knew that our backs were against the wall. I think they brought cover 0 on a couple of those. Zach did a great job getting open and sealing the deal.
Hey, Carson, you stood up here after some empty fourth-quarter drives this season. What's the level of personal gratification after a win like this?
Like I said, this is huge for this whole team. To come in and after halftime to be where we were, and obviously knowing that our backs are against the wall, this is kind of seasons on the line type thing, and for guys to just stay tough, stay together, and late in the game, I was a little bummed we didn't win it in regulation. Came up a yard short on that 3rd and long or whatever, but to come out in overtime and get the win and drive down and score right away, that was huge for me personally and for this entire team.
To follow up on that though, you had led the team to comeback victories, game-winning field goal. This was as dramatic as this was. It had to have been a little more than just.
Yeah, like I said, it's big. It's big for me and for all these guys. And the emotional roller coaster of the day, obviously realizing how poor we were in the first half, and just how it kind of just springboarded us in the second half, and we just made plays and kept making plays, and winning late in overtime like that's been a while. I don't think I've had an overtime win. It was a lot of fun.
What was halftime like?
Like I said earlier, guys just kept saying, hey, just keep believing. Hang tough, keep believing. And, we knew we had a ton of confidence in the defense. They had a couple big plays, but we knew the defense was going to get those things fixed, and which they did. And we knew on offense we just had to, put a couple drives together, stay together. As you guys know, we have long, sustained drives, and that's how we win games on offense. And we were able to do that a couple times, and it was huge for us.
Carson, does evaluate how you play. Do you place greater weight on good plays you make in bigger moments? Does that matter to you in the way you evaluate yourself and maybe other quarterbacks?
I evaluate every play, to be honest, and I expect it to be dialed in every play. And there's obviously plays I want back today. That's going to happen every game. So I realize, for everybody else, they're going to put a lot of weight on situational ball, and I tend to do that as well. But at the same time, I'm going to evaluate every play, and there's a lot of things that I can clean up and be better at as well.
Is there a conversation that you had or something that you reminded yourself as you got later in the game that kind of allowed the flip the switch a little bit?
Not really. I just, I just kept trusting the plays, trusting guys, and just trying to play fast. And just make checks at the line and do things, and just get in and out of the huddle and play fast. And again, guys kept making plays, and I can't say enough good things about the guys that stepped up and made those plays for us.
He was lined up at receiver basically at the end of the game there. Is this stuff you're not even practicing as far as him there and that spot?
Yeah, we've repped it here and there, but like I said earlier, a lot of guys were in positions that we haven't that we definitely didn't practice this week. But that's the way it goes sometimes when guys go down, and guys, the wherewithal of each guy to know, each position. We're switching X and Z in the huddle, and guys are getting lined up, making plays, and so not only making the physical plays, but mentally being locked in. That was huge for us.
You guys had the drive early in the fourth quarter. You came up short, missed field goal and everything like that. I mean, what was the feeling like? You were still down a touchdown. Did you feel like there was still more time, that you were moving the ball at least, and if you had another chance?
Yeah, we still felt really confident on offense. We came up short on that one, and I think that was the one I just missed Greg in the end zone there. We thought we had one there. They made a great play, so we knew we were still moving the ball, and we felt very confident on offense. We just came up short on that drive, but we were able to get another one and went down and scored.
Carson, you mentioned a lot of guys contributing, but it just seemed like Boston Scott really was kind of the spark plug. He really got the crowd energized with some of those big runs and catches that he had. Did you kind of sense that lift that he was providing?
Yeah, definitely. Boston, we've seen, he started the year, I think, on the practice squad, and we've seen what he's done in camp and in preseason, but obviously his opportunities have been limited throughout the season, and tonight to step up the way he did, run in between the tackles, outside the tackles, making plays in the screen game and in the passing game. He did a great job, and like you said, he's kind of a little spark plug for us there, and just like each guy that I've mentioned tonight, those opportunities for them to step up in key situations like this, it's huge for their confidence going forward.
You guys lost Lane, you lost Alshon, obviously one of those guys, but it looks like these may be long-term injuries possibly. You're going to have to limit these guys in the next 3 weeks. How do you feel this group is good?
Yeah, I guess I don't know their injury statuses yet. Like I said, I'm going to talk to those guys. But if that's the case, like I said, the confidence that each of these guys gained from tonight, kind of with our backs against the wall, was huge for us, for me to trust in them and keep believing in them, and this whole team to kind of rally behind those guys and going forward. This one was big for us, and hopefully we can feed off it.
Carson, two guys you mentioned, Perk, Boston, and Greg Ward, all three of them were on the practice squad for a chunk of the season. When you see guys, how do the veterans kind of, what's the process as far as accepting guys on the practice squad and working with them and making sure they stay up mentally?
It's funny because each week to week, it's so fast. You don't have a lot of time to sit and, make sure everyone's ready. It's just, hey, you're in. It's next man up. It's time to go. And, it shows that those guys have been working all year. Even though they're on practice squad, they're going scout team reps, that they've been working, getting better at their craft all year long, and they're still locked in to the game plan each week so that tonight when they're asked to play X or Z or F or Y, whatever it is, they're ready to go and make plays.
Carson, one of the things Miles was saying was that you kind of showed leadership there in the second half. Did you do anything differently? Was it kind of... I
don't think so. Just trying to make everyone keep believing, because we knew the first half we struggled, but we just keep believing. And I said it, our backs are kind of against the wall. It's time to go. And guys stayed together and did a great job.
Thanks, Carson.
Thank you, guys.
All right, great stuff there from the Eagles quarterback. A couple of highlights here, talking about how huge this win is, of course, but continuing to credit all the playmakers, especially the guys who he didn't have a ton of game reps with, really stepping up there, talking about how we all stayed together. We knew that was not our first half. I appreciate the realness there as well. Guys, any takeaways from Carson's press conference?
I think one of the big things for me, I think when you look at just kind of think about this overall, this was a game that was big for Carson, just showing, hey, I can win with these guys, and you can kind of lean back on that success. You know who I think it was also big for? I think it was big for the fans to kind of see that comeback. Yeah. You talk with them every day on the radio. Being able to see that in person in that kind of game against the New York Giants in that kind of atmosphere, I think that was really big for the fan base.
Yeah, it's always been a lot of talk with Carson and being able to win games in the fourth quarter, being able to put the team on your back and come from behind and get victories. So to see that tonight, I'm with Fran there. I think it does a lot of fans some good to be able to see that and to start to have faith that a game isn't over until it's finally over. Because Fran's right, I'm talking to a lot of fans, that's one of the knocks that, whether it's fair or unfair, that gets tossed his way is him having the ability to pull some of these games out, right? Pull some of these one-score close games out in the final drive, leading this team to a victory. We've seen it on the other side where we fall to these type of victories. It was good to see him be able to lead this team. And for me, he did it under not ideal situation, right? I mean, you're talking about having guys out there. Every time I say these names, it sounds like we're talking about a preseason game, because I'm just not used to seeing.
Speaking of those key names for the Eagles tonight, Zach Ertz, 2 touchdowns.
Well, he's not a preseason
overtime
guy,
win for the Eagles. Here's the Eagles tight end.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a staple play for us. Obviously, 3 tight ends in the game. We had Josh and Dallas kind of shift. I think it kind of threw them off a little bit. And I ran an inside post, just attacking leverage. And right when I crossed face, I knew I was going to get the ball, and that was going to be the game.
Zach, you guys had to make a lot of adjustments on the fly in that game that you couldn't possibly envision during the week. How did that go about?
I should say it wasn't the first time that we had to make a ton of adjustments on the sideline. Guys are just battle tested right now at this point in the year. We're not going to flinch. Obviously, we've dealt with a ton of adversity this year, and we just got to find a way to win. And we're down 17-3 at halftime, and no one pointed the finger, no one panicked. Guys just said, hey, let's empty the tank in the second half and see what happens. And our defense played their butts off in the second half, and on offense we just made plays. And Carson did a heck of a job getting us in the right plays frequently. Doug stayed aggressive, and just guys made plays.
Zach, you had a few plays last week that you didn't make that you normally make.
Yeah.
And then you came back in a big game. How does it feel just personally to kind of rebound?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough last week, physically and mentally. Probably the worst game that I've played in a long, long time. And so just being able to come out here and kind of rebound and have the coaches and the guys kind of trust in me and kind of never lose face, obviously it means a lot to me. But it was kind of the message after the game that our best players, our leaders, we have to be playing our best at this point in the year. And a lot of guys took it hard last week. Obviously, the performance wasn't us, me in particular, but it definitely feels great to find a way to win and be a big part of it. And it was definitely fun out there.
On the winning play, it looks like nobody went with you.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It was cover 0. And I don't know if the pre-snap shift kind of messed him up or whatnot. But once I saw the guy's eyes, he wasn't really locked in on me. And right when I knew that, right when I kind of saw that, I knew that Carson was going to find me and we were going to be walking off.
How many positions did you line up at?
I think every spot in a skill position besides running back. I don't think I'll ever line up there. But overall, I mean, I've been in this offense for 4 years now, and I take a lot of pride in being able to help the guys line up. And today we just kind of had to find a way. Obviously, 3 receivers, losing Alshon early, it's tough. But Greg Ward, JJ, Josh Perkins, Boston Scott, I mean, those guys are the guys that allowed us to be in this situation to allow us to make plays at the end of the game. Those guys are freaking studs, and so proud of all of them.
How challenging is it for Carson to kind of be out there dealing with all these moving parts and guys in new positions while still trying to manage the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. Obviously, as a quarterback, chemistry and trust and timing is the number one thing. And guys are just playing their butts off. Obviously, he's putting trust in guys that he doesn't have a ton of reps with. And I think that speaks volumes about him being able to go out there, and it doesn't matter really who's out there, an NFC East opponent, down 17-3, and kind of play his best football in that second half probably all year. So extremely proud and happy for him. Obviously, as a team, we've been through a lot. And as a quarterback, you kind of deal a lot with that pressure. You probably get a little bit of too much blame when you lose and a little bit of too much praise when you win. And that's just the nature of the position. So really proud of him tonight, just the way he led us.
As a follow-up to that, Zach, you're usually aware of those criticisms that he faces. One of the things that's often said is the empty fourth quarter drives.
Yeah.
What was different tonight? Because you haven't had a fourth quarter drive like this in a while.
Yeah, I mean, we just understood as a team that we just had to find a way. And I've always said it's never always on the quarterback. And we had to play better around him. And the running game was clicking, so it kind of took a lot of pressure off him. Those 5 guys up front, even when Big V went in the game, those guys were kind of controlling the line of scrimmage against a good defensive front, and we just had to find a way to make plays. When we're in third and manageable, we're going to be a good offense. In the last game, we were facing a lot of 3rd and 10 pluses. In the NFL, you're not going to be successful.
You might follow that. Do you know what Carson can do? Do you think there's personal gratification?
He's happy that we won the football game. He doesn't really care how we win. Obviously, as people, you want to be a big part of wins. But all he cares about is winning right now. The first 12 weeks haven't gone exactly the way we wanted, but we have 3 games left with everything in front of us, and you can't really ask for much more.
You might be without Alshon for a while, Zach. How important is it confidence-wise for a guy like Ward to be a part of what happened tonight?
I mean, G. Ward is a baller, for sure. I've seen him in the past 2 years kind of just going against the defense each and every day, consistently getting better, consistently working his butt off to be a receiver. You know, it's a new position, obviously, for him. And the guy asks a ton of questions. He's eager to learn. And so he's just a guy that I'm really proud of being able to go in there, and we're able to lean on him to make big plays in the fourth quarter and in overtime, and just allow us to win the football game. And all the work he's put in the past 2 years has obviously paid off, but he's going to be a really good player for us.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Okay, that's it from Eagles tight end Zach Ertz. Big night for him tonight. Again, 9 catches, 91 yards, including 2 touchdowns, 1 in overtime, and his longest catch of the night, 30-yard catch, which I believe will be the subject of the Rico Review. We are going to take a quick break. We'll catch Fran with the Rico Review on the other side. Fran, we will see you in a minute, and we will see you in a minute as well.
Meet the Wawa Hoagies. Every hoagie is made for you with delicious ingredients on a freshly baked Amoroso roll. Try one today. Back to the postgame show presented by Rico as we continue to break down an Eagles win in Monday Night Football over NFC East opponent, the New York Giants. And Zach Ertz coming up clutch with 2 touchdowns in this one, including the overtime one to seal the deal. He also had a big first down catch for 30 yards. That play is the subject of tonight's Rico Review. Fran Duffy, take it away.
So after the 24-yard gain to Zach Ertz on the scramble drill, very next snap, what do we get? A 30-yard completion to the veteran tight end. This one inside the structure of the play. This is a really well-designed 3-level stretch. It's been one of the staples of Doug Pederson's offense going back to when he first arrived here in Philadelphia. And a 3-level stretch is exactly what it sounds like. You're attacking the defense at all 3 levels. So you've got 1 receiver short, you've got 1 receiver in the intermediate area, and you've got at least 1 receiver deep. So all 3 levels of the field all being attacked. The third part of the field is going to be attacked by these two deep post routes. So you've got a double post combination from those two receivers on the field in Greg Ward and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. The short part of the field, off play action, is going to be Miles Sanders just going into the flat. He's going to just kind of serve as flat control and a check down for Carson Wentz. The intermediate area here is going to be attacked by Zach Ertz. So Zach Ertz is going to be brought in motion here from right to left. And at the snap of the ball, he's going to look like he's running an over route, but he's actually going to bend this back right into the intermediate area, and you're going to see that he's wide open off play action. And let's let this roll, and you're going to see exactly how it happens. This is a route we see Zach Ertz run it a handful of times a game. They usually hit on him at least once every single time they take the field. And you're going to see when Carson hits the top of his drop right here, it's going to be a well-defined picture because, again, you've got those two deep post routes. They're going to lift the coverage. So these two defensive backs for the Giants, they're going to be removed from the action. That's going to create a huge void here in the middle of the field. And Zach Ertz has already started his break. He acts like he's running across, and now he's going to break it back. So this defender, he has no idea that Zach Ertz, he thinks he's passed him off. He has no idea that he's about to run behind him. So off play action, they kept Dallas Goedert in as an extra protector just to give Carson Wentz another beat, and we'll let this run. And you can see Carson's just going to deliver this to a wide open Zach Ertz. Nobody within at least 10 yards of him as he makes the catch. Was able to get upfield for a few more. Eagles get first and goal. They turn it into a field goal, make the score 7-3 early in the second quarter.
All right, one more quick break. When we come back, we have the nominees for the Toyota Player of the Week. As always, you will have your chance to vote and win a chance, or get a chance at winning a free Toyota. That would be awesome. We will see you on the other side. Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. This week's nominees for the Eagles: Zach Ertz, running back Boston Scott, and quarterback Carson Wentz. Your three nominees there. Three really solid choices. I don't know who I'm going with. I think it has to be Carson for me. What do you think?
Wow, this is a tough one.
This is tough because you could say all three of these guys had moments tonight that turned this thing around. I think all three were absolutely required, and I could argue a turning point based on a play by any of these guys.
I agree. You know what? You're going with Carson. I think I'll give the little fella some love tonight.
Little spark plug.
Yeah, I think Boston Scott, man, his energy when he got in there and got an opportunity, I thought his play was what really breathed life back into the team.
Yeah.
You know, he had a couple nice runs there on the screens and on the draws, and once he had those plays, I think the offense started to ignite. So that's a tough one this week to pick.
Yeah, I think you got to give him credit there, and you could really see it even from watching it on TV. You could see the energy and the hunger and just how much drive and fire that he really ran with and totally sparked this offense. I think very well said. All right, time to look ahead to next week's opponent, another NFC East game, which is going to be the case for the remainder of the regular season. The Eagles on the road against 3-10 Washington, a Washington team that lost to the Packers last week 20-15, but had Green Bay on the ropes there for a second
and of course had that win over Carolina the week before as well. So never an opponent to be slept on across the NFL. Initial thoughts about this matchup?
Yeah, it should be another tough game. I mean, Bill Callahan has these Redskins playing hard, right? Whatever many games left in the season, he's at least been able to reach them and get them to give him a good effort. And you talked about the way they played against Green Bay yesterday, up in Green Bay, really gave Green Bay a nice scare, coming off of beating Carolina in Carolina. So Dwayne Haskins, the rookie quarterback, is showing some flashes. This is another one of those teams that you got to jump on them early. You know, if you get off to another slow start and this time on the road, you get that crowd into the game, it could be a difficult win to try to come away with. So I would say going into this game, let's get off to a fast start and not even give the Redskins a thought of winning this game.
Yeah, you don't want that rookie quarterback to start gaining confidence, and he comes into Washington knowing that he is not the guy that former head coach Jay Gruden wanted. Now he has a new coaching staff, starting to gain some confidence, putting together some nice moments. You don't want him to catch fire. And of course, we will be right back here, as always, to preview that game with the kickoff show presented by Exalta. That will be 30 minutes before kickoff, so 12:30 on Sunday. Fran Duffy, of course, will be joining me, and then we will be right back here afterwards to break it all down. We will hear from Coach. We'll hear from Carson. Hopefully, we'll be breaking down another NFC East win. And again, a lot to play for. Every win, every game, a must-win at this point in time as we enter this little final stretch here of the regular season. And of course, I'm going to be glad that we have a 1 p.m. kickoff and we won't be here at getting close to 1 a.m. All right, it's time for everyone to go to bed, us included. We will see you next week.